raining, it's windy, and it's cold. I don't think it's gonna change, but we'll see, I guess. And what's going on today? There's actually a lot of thought-provoking stuff, I guess you could say, in terms of what I read today. How about we start off with some funny stuff if you want to consider it funny. I was reading this one where apparently it showed a video clip of people using a quote drone for the Navy. And it says here, it's Awkward Moments Day. And it says in 2014, the Portuguese Navy held a press conference with Portugal's defense minister to demonstrate their new drone. The event had an awkward moment when the drone was launched and immediately plummeted into the water. As you can see, they tried to hand launch it, throw it up in the air, and whoop, down the water it went. It's kind of funny because this actually makes me think where, again, they classify so many things as a quote drone. And imagine, I guess, people trying to fly these where they encourage over-the-top regulations. Like, as funny as this is, I wouldn't doubt a lot of people wouldn't be able to fly stuff like this, correct? Because everything is so based on things like quadcopters and stuff with the regulations. And with that thought, I guess, lots of stories about awards and stuff, but this one here shows, I guess, a drone being taken down. Kind of interesting video clips. It says here, footage of the Joint Forces Command of the Coalition intercepting and destroying a bomb-laden UAV launched by the Iranian-backed terrorists Houthi militia today, Tuesday, towards the kingdom to target civilians and civilian objects in a systematic and deliberate manner. Looks almost like a video game when you look at it. I guess that's the drone you can see in the background there. And there's the target, and bang! There it goes. It's kind of interesting too because when you really look into it, it almost looks like it was a homing missile of some sort because it goes and then it detects it and says, hey, there it is, and it kind of makes an adjustment. It shows you too just how long this stuff has been in existence, yet only in recent times, I guess, for whatever reason, people started fear-mongering things like a consumer drone. Whereas again, it should be stuff like this, you should be worried about military stuff. Which makes you think, because I guess ultimately it comes down to what information you're reading that generates that type of, I guess, mindset or hysteria. And in recent times, as you know, there's been a lot of accusations where certain countries are publishing, I guess, propaganda, fake information, so they're banning various news outlets, like for example, Russia in this war between Ukraine. Well, this one was really fascinating, and I remember Twitter banning this news outlet for publishing this story where apparently this guy's laptop, I guess, was exposed afterwards, like in terms of the information that was in there, but everyone was deeming it as quote misinformation. It was Russian propaganda or something like that. So it would seem that for whatever reason now other news outlets are kind of confirming, well, this is real, like with this laptop and the emails are in there, and then again there's a lot of incriminating stuff. But it makes you wonder how many people were involved in this in terms of, I guess, suppressing that news bit. Even imagine just from the social media aspect, which I would be most fascinated about. For example, Twitter, again, blocking or banning the publisher from actually talking about this. Anyone that wants to share it. Well, they basically released this article saying, spies who lie. 51 intelligence experts refuse to apologize for discrediting true Hunter Biden story. They are the supposed nonpartisan group of top spies looking out for the best interests of the nation. But the 51 former intelligence officials who cast doubt on the post-Hunter Biden laptop stories in a public letter really were just desperate to get Joe Biden elected president. So just like a huge political thing, I often say political stuff that usually ruins everything. And it says, and more than a year later, even after their deep state sabotage has been shown again and again to be a lie, they refuse to own up to how they undermined an election. The officials, including CNN pundit and professional fabricator James Clapper, a man who was nearly charged for perjury for lying to Congress, signed a letter saying that the laptop has the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. So I don't know if this is just news outlets basically trying to get at each other, or if that is true there, that's kind of really bad, isn't it? Just think of how many people are involved with all this is true. Because they say here, what proof do they have? By their own admission, none. We do not know if the emails are genuine or not, the letter said. They're just suspicious. Why? Because they hurt Biden's campaign, that's evidence enough. Keep in mind this was written October 19, 2020, 5 days after the Post published its first story. Neither Joe Biden nor Hunter Biden had denied the story. I'm not too familiar with all US officials and all that, but based on this cover, like this one they wrote here with the spies who lie, if that's all officials that you're supposed to trust that have an impartial mindset when it comes to investigating stuff, that's a little troubling, isn't it? And then they go on to talk about how various, I guess, is it news outlets who tried to bury the story as well? Like it says here, Politico picked up the letter and ran the false headline, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo. Dozens of former intel officials say. That headline is still online today, even though the letter clearly says they don't know if it's Russian disinformation. Again, for myself, the biggest topic here is how a lot of people would think it's great to ban this and that because you claim that side's giving false information, but where do you draw the line? Because like here, you could argue, isn't it quote disinformation in terms of what these guys are doing? So it's on your home territory, so it never ends basically if you give them, I guess, permission to say yes, block this, censor that. Then what happens when it deals with an issue that does affect you in general? That would be my concern. Like here, imagine everyone that's involved here, if this is accurate, from high-ranking officials to, let's just say, tech platforms, social media, they suppress, I guess, one side, and it ends up being, I guess you could say, true in this case. That is disturbing. As they say here, keep in mind that Twitter already had banned the New York Post a few days before. The rationale was that this was hacked materials, even though it wasn't, and Twitter had no evidence to think it was. A Facebook official, meanwhile, said it wasn't going to allow the sharing of the Post story until it was, quote, fact-checked by a third party, a check that never happened. Thus, big tech, former government officials, and the media conspired together to bury a story. It makes me think whenever people mention that word now, quote, misinformation, as a way to shut down conversation, it'll actually make me think, are you the one giving, quote, misinformation? Because why are you so afraid of someone actually just saying whatever it is they have to say, for example, releasing their facts? If they are lying, for example, then you should be able to debunk it easily, correct? Or another thing this makes me think of, because a lot of times I've actually read during these times where when platforms like say Twitter or something like that censors someone in these ways, people would have the mentality of, you call that censorship? Go try living in China or something like that, where you can't even post on, let's just say, sites like that. Can you not see in the bigger picture, like here? It might not affect you right now, but it's little by little. At what point does it turn out to be, for example, like a communist country where it is fundamentally, if you talk about something that I don't like or I don't agree with, you are blocked, you are banned. It's the same thing in my opinion. It might not be as big in terms of the scope of it, but in general, it is kind of controlling information and all that, isn't it? And in my opinion, that's not right. You might as well stop it before it gets, I guess, crazy in that sense where it is like 100% a full communism in my opinion. I think one disturbing thing with stories like these is not even so much about the politician lying. You kind of expect that, or people of authority being bought out. It happens. It's when you have, I guess, regular people who could just fall for, let's just say, a quote narrative where you just say, quote, it's misinformation. That's it. You won't do any research or anything like that. I think that's kind of the scary part where even they, quote, know it, whoever is, I guess, corrupt, where that's all you need to do. You just use those buzzwords or whatever and that's it. You'll have like this following. That's kind of crazy to think about in that sense. People need some more, I guess, critical thinking. Alright, no flying today, I guess. That's interesting with that archive experiment last time. It's kind of what I thought with speeding up and so forth, where it's not smooth enough in some cases. I'm thinking, what should I test today? Alright, see you guys later.